And that's why when they get into court, they really can't call surprise witnesses without the other side knowing about it, because it wasn't found in discovery. As I said, it allows for a fair trial for both sides, and it gives them an idea what they're up against. When the trial proceedings occur, only the evidence presented in discovery is admissible in court. New evidence can be submitted during the trial, but its submission can only be allowed if the opposing lawyer can see the evidence first, and sometimes if the opposing attorney requests, the trial may be delayed for a certain period of time so that the attorney can research the new evidence and so that they can try to find other evidence or testimony to challenge the new evidence. Seems fair and equitable, right? Well, that's the way it used to be in this country. This book was written about 6 years ago, so things have changed a lot. The evidence for the prosecution, which we will present tonight and in the chapter that I'm reading, had for the most part been suppressed for many years. This evidence is powerful and was presented in the writings of many secular UFO researchers, men and women who do not necessarily agree with the case for the prosecution, which is the prosecution is us, and we contend that these things are not from outer space, but they're interdimensional. Okay, these people came to the conclusion that the harm that are harmful to the defendants and their evidence in the way of research conclusions was never allowed to come to light in court before. It's our contention that in excess of 60 years, those in the defense of the aliens have championed their cause, who have been in the spotlight for all those decades and have never had adequate time. We've never had adequate time to present our case. And to be truthful with you, before 10 years ago, I doubt that there really was a case. There was probably a bunch of people out there that had the thought, but nobody ever really wanted to present it. The thing is that their clients, those whose entities that claim to be extraterrestrials, have never made an attempt to come to court to speak for themselves, right? In lieu of their personal testimony, they've sent representatives to court. The representatives have come in three groups, basically. The first group consists of the people whom they abduct. After a time of repeated abductions, the entities indoctrinate their victims with apocalyptic messages and or bits of pieces of other messages, so as to present just enough testimony to satisfy the people sitting on the jury, because that's what you want to do, right? The jury is then left to take bits and pieces that they're given and to place each piece into sort of some bizarre puzzle that they're left to interpret. This tactic causes the jury to come up with a variety of different stories, all somewhat the same, but none entirely identical to each other. The second group of representatives for the defendants is in the psychic realm. The messages come in many ways, some which include automatic writing, messages from walk-in entities, and those are entities that enter the body of the channeler and speak through them, sometimes via telepathy, and there are other methods too. These messages are then given to interested parties via the internet or in newsletters, journals, books, and many times via word of mouth. There currently are many books in the bookstores all around the world that are jumbled testimonies of these entities that claim to be exceedingly advanced and or enlightened, but cannot show up for court appearance for some reason. Darkness cannot abide in the light. That's my 2016 paraphrase. The third group comes in the way of those who witness UFO appearances. It is as if UFOs appeared just to say that they exist, and we'll have to be satisfied with that for now. It's like they are playing some sort of sick variant of the child's game Marco Polo, showing themselves for a brief moment, and then causing humanity to figure out the rest for themselves. The witnesses come to court saying that they saw something here or there, or they heard them talk from time to time, but there is nothing definitive, nothing certain. And what we're going to talk about, we'll examine the thoughts of many secular people who have studied UFOs and or the alien abduction phenomena. While there is no doubt that there are many more than these scant few that we've studied and have come to the same conclusion that the following have, we present testimonies of these people because they possess the credentials that are required to satisfy those who demand that professionalism be present in anyone who researches the phenomena. That's just the way it is, folks. And, you know, Yeshua put up with the same thing. You remember that little story about when he went back to his hometown and the people all of a sudden say, wasn't this Yeshua who grew up with our children? Don't his brothers and sisters live with us? And in essence, what they were saying, folks, was he never went to seminary. How can he have this authority that he claims to have? So they either found out or they denied him, one of the two. The men and women who will be quoted here have seen the evasiveness of these entities. They have seen that the UFO alien abduction phenomenon doesn't present itself in a way as behaving like the actions of advanced visitors from other planets in the cosmos. These persons also see both UFOs and the supposed aliens as acting more akin to spiritual entities rather than physical beings. Let's see what these secular searchers have to say about UFOs and entities that purport themselves to fly them. Okay, folks, here we go. Ready to rock and roll? Okay, let's rock and roll. Okay. First, we're going to have the testimony of Jacques Vallée. Okay. He's probably the best known of these researchers. His name, again, is Dr. Jacques Vallée. Dr. Vallée, and that's spelled V-A-L-L-E-E with a hyphen above the first E, is exceptionally educated, have many credentials, some of which include a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics from Sorbonne, Master of Science in Astrophysics from the University of Lille, a Ph.D. in Computer Science from Northwestern University, a National Advisory Committee for the University of Michigan College of Engineering, involved in the early work of artificial intelligence, carefully studied the problem of UFOs for many years with Dr. J. Allen Hynek, and has written 9 books and many papers about his research into UFO phenomena. And, folks, they are dynamite books. Once you pick them up, you can't put them down. And just about the time you're getting tired, he puts something in there about these entities being spiritual, and then you go for another 2 or 3 chapters. Trust me, if you're a book junkie like me, that'll happen to you. Given the fact that Dr. Vallée possesses the credentials that he does, there should be no doubt that he has the intelligence to research and study the alien abduction phenomenon with a lack of any prejudice or personal bias, you would think. Just a simple glance at his credentials shows us that he has pursued science as his profession, and with that as his basis of thought, he should be very objective to any and all pieces of the puzzle that presented themselves in the UFO alien abduction realm, right? Okay. We could take this thought to an extreme and state that given his foundation in science and knowing that scientific method demands physical and demonstrable or demonstrable proof to make a determination, Dr. Vallée should not even toy with the fact that the UFO abduction event is anything other than something physical, right? But instead, Dr. Vallée comes to the conclusion that entirely shakes his foundation. Let's look at what Dr. Vallée found. Okay, and here's a quote here. He says, "We are dealing with a yet unrecognized level of consciousness independent of man, but closely linked to Earth. I do not believe anymore that UFOs are simple spacecraft of some race of extraterrestrial visitors. This notation is too simplistic to explain their appearance. The frequency of their manifestations throughout recorded history, and the structure of the information exchanged with them during contact." And that's from his book Confrontations, page 89. Now, Vallée draws some interesting conclusions from his study of the UFO alien abduction phenomena. He's saying that it isn't from outer space, but right here on Earth, or around the Earth. He makes mentions that they have been recorded as having visited us throughout recorded history. But what is his inference by saying this? Okay, and why does he say that the extraterrestrial hypothesis is too simple an idea to explain who they are? We feel that the answer to those questions can be answered in another Vallée's quotation, and that says, "The medical examinations to which the abductees are said to be subjected, often accompanied by sadistic and sexual manipulation, is reminiscent of the medieval tales of encounters with demons. It makes no sense in a sophisticated or technical or biological framework. Any intelligent being equipped with scientific marvels that UFOs possess would be in a position to achieve any of these alleged scientific objectives in shorter time with fewer risks." And that's in his book Confrontations, page 13. Okay. What he's saying, if you didn't get it, here is that after studying the archive reports of strange goings-on over the centuries regarding beings that have come in the middle of the night and have taken captive unwilling victims, the parallels are far too similar to ignore. He's saying that he believes that the stories of hideous creatures resembling demons from centuries past and up to our supposed age of enlightenment are strikingly similar, if not identical, to the accounts of current-day alien abductees. Interesting. In the same book, Confrontations, Vallée again echoes, after doing extensive research, that he believes that demons of old and the alien abductors of today are the same beings that we observed in the following. This is the following quote, folks. The UFO beings of today belong to the same class of manifestations as the occult entities that were described in centuries past, and that's from Confrontations, page 160 and 161. In another book, Messengers of Deception, Vallée shows us that he hasn't limited himself to studying the past to see parallelisms between the abductors, but he shows us that his research shows that there are many similarities between the activity that contemporary researchers consider demonic and the actions of the beings that supposedly pilot UFOs. And he says impressive parallels can be made between UFO occupants and the popular conceptions of demons. And again, that was in Vallée's Messengers of Deception, page 15. Vallée was very, very thorough in his research into the UFO realm. A good reading of his book shows that he's left no stones unturned in his search for the truth. One of the many areas where he made comparative studies was into the occult religious domain. After an extensive study of this realm, he came up with the following conclusion, and I quote, "The structure of abduction stories is identical to the occult initiation rituals," and that's in Confrontations, page 160. It becomes obvious that he dug deep into many works on occult tradition and practice because he makes the following statement in regard to otherworldly travel state that many victims of alien abduction refer to when telling their accounts. And he says, and I quote, "The symbolic display seen by the abductees is identical to the type of initiation rituals or astral voyage that's embedded in the occult tradition of every culture." Confrontations, page 146. Finally, it would appear that Dr. Vallée is a forward thinker. He didn't just think about how this whole subject would affect here and now, but he looked at the intent of the entities that were doing all the abducting. Instead of just focusing on the who or the what of the UFO and alien enigma, he delved into the why of the subject. Why are they here and why are they doing what they are doing? He came to the following conclusion. UFOs can project images or fabricated scenes designed to change our belief system. And that was found in Messengers of Deception, page 19. Yes, and when it comes down to brass tacks, the whole UFO alien abduction puzzle is based on the following premise. Human belief is being controlled and conditioned. Man's concepts are being rearranged. And we may be heading for a massive change of human attitudes towards paranormal abilities and extraterrestrial life. He said that in The Invisible College, page 3, on page 3, and also on pages 201 and 204. So the conclusion of Jacques Vallée, a highly educated researcher in the secular sciences, are the following. Just to sum it up, what he had to say. The beings that pilot UFOs and abduct humans aren't extraterrestrial. They are demonic entities who are conducting sadistic experiments on human beings in an attempt to involve them in an occult initiation, disguised as enlightenment, in order to change the human belief system and our attitude towards the paranormal and also towards extraterrestrial life. In other words, they're perpetuating a lie, providing false imagery and false proof to allow the lie to become fact in the minds of many. Christians, of course, see this as an attempt, hopefully Christians, of course, many of us have, not all, as an attempt to set up the one world government that will be administered by the one that we call the Antichrist or the man of perdition. When the man of perdition, comes in the guise of an alien or a hybrid human alien, well, only God knows if that'll happen, but it seems to be a possibility. Leave all possibilities open, folks. Okay? you start making judgment calls